Hey, I'm back. I'm still in this hammock. I don't know if being in the hammock is annoying or not for shooting. Probably is. Very comfortable. Just gonna go with it. Not sure that anybody watches this. If you do, I'm so sorry. Um, I didn't start making these videos because I think that I'm gonna be some sort of like gateway process influencer or some shit. I'm just making them to keep track of what I'm doing, and as such, I should have to remember that I made weird choices like doing a whole video from inside the hammock after my first Focus 12. 35 seconds into the video, and that is what it's about. I wrapped up my focus on Focus 10, Wave 1, and I decided to move into Wave 2. I said in the last video, I guarantee you haven't watched it, so I'll just give you a quick recap. I said in my last video that I had been given information from a Redditor, somebody who I thought was really helpful, and they were, that I should really spend a lot of time, like up to 6 months, maybe a year, mastering Focus 10. I recently called the Monroe Institute Canada, which doesn't exist, but somebody did pick up, and it did exist, and the person who picked up was the person who ran it, who is like very, very, very close friends with Bob Monroe's, I think it was stepdaughter, and who trained under Bob Monroe, which blew my mind. My lid was just blown back, and that's so exciting. And he said, how long have you been doing it? And I told him, and he was like, move on. And he wasn't dismissive about it. He was very kind about it. But he said, the real magic starts happening at 12 and 15, and you can always come back to 10, but if you figured out mind awake, body asleep, even to some extent, he's like, there's a lot happening subconsciously, and he's like, I would say keep going forward with it. So I took that as a big high five and some beautiful permission. I just did Focus 12 for the first time today, tape number 1. I once I came out of it, I replayed the end of it, sitting up, just listening to it, because I think that I had clicked out at some point, and I didn't hear it end, and it turns out that I was right. I was with it for a decent amount of time. I don't know how much time. I actually don't know how to tell time while I'm doing these tapes, but a couple of things happened that I thought were really amazing. So, of course, the beginning of Focus 12, you got to get yourself up to Focus 10, which is good. That's a practice that I was pretty late to the game with, because I spent so much time doing Focus 10 and Advanced Focus 10 that I hadn't even dipped into Release Recharge or the Exploration Sleep or the Free Flow. So by the time I got to that and I was ready to move on, I was like, oh, I don't actually have the faculty put together properly. But, whatever, I figured it out. So I got myself up to Focus 10, like, just as he started speaking, and he was like, by now you should have achieved Focus 10, and I will count you to Focus 12, which was great. And I just decided not to have a panic that I hadn't gotten there yet, that I was just like, I had literally I was like at 8 when he first started speaking, and I just kept counting myself into 10. And what I can credit myself with is, even though he was talking and I counted myself into 10, I could feel myself go into 10. It was familiar enough that I was like, I am where I expected to be. Then he counted me to 12, and 3 things happened that have never happened before. 1, I felt like I was sinking, is the best way I can describe it. I felt like my shoulders and like my spine were just kind of like, not melting, but actually just like pressing in. Pressing might not even quite be the right word, because pressing would sort of imply that there's maybe a doing happening. It didn't feel like I was a part of the pressing in. It's almost like I was being pulled deep into something. So that was 1. 2 is, in Focus 10, I had felt like I had seen colors before, but they were always in like these squiggles. This time, what I noticed was my panorama underneath my eyelids and in my brain and my mind went from this kind of like pinkish sky to like what I think was like a rich blue or dark purple. The purple that I had seen previously when I was moving into Focus 10, I now realize, first of all, I'm really bad with colors. I have color deficiency, so whatever, words are just words. But it was like a very light purple, and I think I described it once as kind of like feeling electric. This wasn't like that. This was like a rich, deep purple, and it wasn't in squiggles. It was like a full wash in a wave, and it almost like it felt like watching the transition in a movie where you fade from one season into another, but I was going from like a color scheme to another color scheme. Pink to blue is probably the clearest if you're trying to visualize it. What the colors were, I don't know. I don't know that there's any symbolism or anything significant to it, but it definitely it happened, and it went on for quite some time. And then the third thing that happened, and this had happened briefly in Focus 10, once or twice actually, but it was way more pronounced, was that my body was still in real life, like my IRL body, my light body, my energy body, the body inside my body, the sensation of 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 whoever I am inside of here was rocking. And it wasn't rocking up at my torso, which is what happened to me in Focus 10, but everything from below, sort of like where I could imagine would be a rib cage if I was looking at my physical body, and again, it wasn't my physical body, was like throwing itself side to side pretty violently. And it wasn't, I had a thought where I was like, oh, this could make me seasick. And then I very quickly heard a voice going, well, you're not moving, so it can't. And I thought that was funny because I mean, maybe that was just my mind correcting how stupid I am, and that's fine. Either way, it was funny. And the rocking went on for some time, and I was alert, and so I was like, I tried to affect the rocking. I was like, oh, I wonder if I can get this to spread up all the way through my body, and I was able to. And then I tried to play with directionality and to see if I could like pull myself right up, because I was like, well, if I'm going side to side, I wonder what other directional angles I have. And then that's the last thing I remember. I broke it. Yeah. So as soon as I tried to like lift forward or lift upward, I think I clicked out. I didn't fall asleep, but I definitely lost my awareness of what was happening. And the next thing I remember is just being aware that I was still there in silence. Oh no, that's not true. No, I'm so sorry. After that happened, Bob Monroe comes back on. He's like, I'm going to talk you back down to Focus 10. Which we did. And I went back to Focus 10, and this is why I know the colors. Oh my gosh, I told the story wrong. I'm sorry. The color washed back from this like rich, dark, bluey purple into pink again, which, like I said, I had never really made the distinction in Focus 10, but maybe that's because I'd never seen the transition. And all of a sudden I was washed in this pink, and I was back in Focus 10, where my body didn't feel... I suck at telling this story. When I went into Focus 12, the first thing that I noticed was kind of like a tingling. I felt, even though my body was asleep, I felt energized. I felt, tingling is not the right word, like a crackling. Like if you could imagine listening to a record player and it's making that like sound when it's like when the grooves are wrong or when there's dust on it. That's what my body felt like it was doing. I wasn't hearing it, but I was feeling that kind of crackling. And then all the other stuff I said is still true. So when I went back to 10, that crackling went away, and I went back to the feeling of being in a float tank, being in water, being in a Bangara state, whatever it is, where like I actually didn't know. I became really unaware of my body. In Focus 12, I had a slight awareness of my body at the beginning of that crackling, and then it went away, with the exception of my sort of light body moving and understanding that rocking feeling wasn't happening inside my physical body. And then he counts you back to 12, and I got the transition again into the color, and that's the last thing I remember. And then all of a sudden there was just silence, and I was like, Bob's gone. And I allowed myself to, as I became aware of it, I allowed myself to just open my eyes and count myself with my eyes open back down to 1, which I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do it or not, but I did that, and then I was perplexed, and I was like, Bob wouldn't do me like that. He would say something. He would at least say goodbye. So I went back to just listen to the last 4 minutes of the tape, and lo and behold, he says all sorts of things that are very interesting that I did not consciously hear. Subconsciously, I'm sure someone up there got the message, but the me that is this physical body did not. And that's okay. I thought it was awesome. I had a lot of fun. I'm excited to do it again. I don't have much more to say. It wasn't I don't know. It wasn't full of like profound conversation. There's just a physical experience. I'm very curious, and this is something that I guess if I was with other people, I might be able to get more insight. I'm just alone in this stupid hammock and on Reddit, asking my dumb questions. But I guess I'm very curious to know how other people are playing with intentions and where they show up. I'm also really curious to know how other people's what are they like? The affirmation around "I'm more than my physical body." I'm curious to know how other people have modified that, because I know that Bob both writes about it and talks about making it your own, and I've done some things to make it my own. But I don't know. I'm wondering what other people are doing to get to a place where they're really serving their interest and their intention. And I think that's a part of it, is that in terms of serving my own interest and my intention, I'm like, I don't know, I'm here for the experience. I'm here to just say I'm showing up and I'm following along, and I want to go where I'm led and go where I'm shown that there's something interesting. But maybe there's more to it. I mean, there's definitely more to it. And in fact, when I listened to Ryan Bledsoe on the Bledsoe Said So podcast, I'm not sponsored by them, that's just a shout out. We're not friends, I don't know him. When I spoke to him, that's one of the things that he talks about doing, and that he also kind of like misunderstood, which was helpful to hear somebody else say something that sounds kind of dumb, and realize that like we're all just figuring it out. I think there are people that read it and hear the instructions, and like one of my dear friends has just started doing this, and she just goes rogue. She's like, she can do it in any order she wants, and somehow she gets there, and it's fascinating, and she comes back with all this insight, and I'm over here just trying to rock out of my body and click out. Anyways, this is the end of my first entry on Focus 12. What's the TLDR? There's this movement quality that I'm really curious about, and that if I were to set an intention, I think that's one of the things that I want to learn more about, or not learn more about, I want to explore more. I want to see what it would mean for that rocking sensation to lift out of whatever it is in. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody who's hearing that who understands exactly what I'm saying and who has either experienced or done it. If you don't know what I'm saying, I don't know how to help you. But all I can say is that my intuition is telling me that if I can, that rocking leads somewhere. That's like, yeah, it's a gateway. No, but it's a stepping stone towards another piece of the puzzle. And so, of all of the things that I want to set my intention around, I want to lean into the rocking. I want to investigate it and rock with it. And then the other thing is I want to create space for my higher self to be heard and seen, because that is, I think, one of the things that I'm most intrigued by. Is in one of the Focus 10 meditations that I did, I very, very clearly heard the deepest, richest, most beautifully resonant silence that I've ever heard in my entire life, and a voice that said, I'm the only one in here, and I'm convinced that was my higher self. That was me talking to me in this beautiful void of silence, and just letting me know that, that we're together, we're one, I'm not alone, but also that they can be contacted, and that I can contact them, and that it's not nearly as complicated as I think, and I just have to get still and listen. Over the past little while, I've been doing a lot better job of listening and not doubting things. Every time a thought comes into my mind that sounds like kind of any thought, I entertain it. I just went out and bought 3 new books today about crystals and chakras and auras, because I came out of a meditation this morning, and it was the very first thing that popped into my head was, you need to understand how your chakras work. And so I was like, all right, let's get in the car and go to a place that can do that. And I phoned around and found a store that sells very specific crystals that came out of this meditation that I did that led me to these 3 crystals that I've never heard of in my life, and called a place and they have all 3 crystals, and I was like, all right, I'll be back tomorrow to go buy them. So I know that I'm listening to at least like my intuition, whether that's my higher self, my spirit guide, or just the meanderings of my mind. I'm not sure, but I'm not going to judge either of them because I think that they're leading me definitely in the right direction. Anyways, I don't have a very good sense of how to make these videos any shorter. I don't know that they're 15 minutes interesting, but they're 15 minutes long. If you're listening, thanks for listening. If you're doing the gateway process, please get in touch with me. Let me know where you're at. Let me know if you have any questions. I don't plan on answering them. I just want to hear your questions. Let me know if you think you have any answers. Let me know if you have any insights or if there's something that I said that resonates with you. I would love to hear all of it. I'm just looking for community. I'm just looking for other people who are on this beautiful journey. And if you have a hammock at home, I suggest making videos in it because it's really comfortable. Okay, bye.